Kevin, it seems like there are lots of good news today, isn't it?
It's news, but it's subjective to how you take it. Good news, bad news, or it's just news, or it's just rumors, or it is just something that you really want to be hearing all the time, but it doesn't make you happy. So it depends.
I League is dying, it seems. I'm sure a lot of people will be very happy that I League is finally dying.
But it's been dying for the past 4 years.
Yeah, and it's finally, if it dies, finally, it's like, you're looking at something that's suffering from the pains of death, and finally, when it dies, you're like, हाँ चलो शांति मिल गई अभी. I would personally love to see ISL become the top division, as long as you don't relegate the I-League clubs that don't deserve it. Right? If there are top division clubs, as long as they stay in top division, fine, promote all the ISL clubs to top division and make one unified league. And, we can have the conversation about whether it's going to have promotion relegation. Maybe that happens now, maybe that happens later, but at least don't kick the clubs in the nuts who are already putting in so much effort to compete at the highest level.
Now, I think we should not talk about football. We should talk about the money part. Where and how is the money going to come into these clubs who've put in crores? Some have put in lakhs. Some have been waiting for
everybody is
for
putting
a
crores, man.
turnover.
Football does not work in lakhs. I mean, maybe second division team can work on 80-90 lakhs, but I-League clubs, minimum you're going to need 4-5 crores to get through the season. And ISL teams, obviously, we know it's,
Now,
it's
talking
more
about
than 40
lakhs,
crores.
we're talking about fines that are heading into the half of the crore.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay. So just to clarify to the viewers what happened and what we know for sure and what we think is going to happen next. We saw some reports coming out on Bengali newspapers, Ajkal and Pratidin, that said that FSDL is pressuring AIFF to do certain things. For example, they want the I-League clubs that pulled out of Super Cup, they should be fined a lot more, which was 10 lakhs and 5 lakhs earlier. Then they want ISL to be declared as the top division league of India by this month or early next month. And they have stopped the payments that they were supposed to make earlier in April to AIFF. So AIFF is now running out of funds and they are in a pickle. They have to do what FSDL says. Otherwise, everything comes to a standstill. And that's what the papers alleged. Right? We don't know this for sure because no AIFF official has come out and said we have not received money. As usual, FSDL has not said anything. But a day after the report came out, or I think half a day after the report came out, it was towards Saturday night, we started hearing that indeed one of the things claimed in the report has come true. The clubs that were fined 10 lakhs, the fine has been now raised to 27.5 lakhs.
Wow.
East Bengal had 5 lakhs. They're now in for 22.5 lakhs. The problem with that is the fine amount was declared by AIFF disciplinary committee, and it seems AIFF themselves went to their own disciplinary committee, appealed against that decision, and got them to raise the amount. And I cannot remember any other instance where AIFF appealed against a decision of its own disciplinary committee. The federation usually just abides by whatever the disciplinary committee says because that's the disciplinary committee is doing by the rule set that they themselves set up, right? So they always uphold the disciplinary committee. This time, right after the articles claimed that FSDL was pressuring them to do something, they went and did it. And maybe the articles that claimed it are wrong. Maybe they're doing it by themselves without FSDL pressuring them. We'll have to wait and watch how the rest of the stuff plays out. But the bad omen that this gives is that what if the other things that the articles claimed comes true? What if ISL becomes top division next season, which is not the bad part. The bad part is all the I-League clubs, East Bengal, Mohun Bagan, Real Kashmir, Gokulam Kerala FC, Minerva Punjab, Chennai City FC, the champions of India who will play AFC Champions League next season. All of them, Aizawl FC, Neroka, I don't care, Trau, who won the second division and they earned the right to play in the top division. What if they just get unceremoniously relegated? It will be a death knell for A lot of them, like Neroka, will not survive. They're already, they already may not survive, but this will surely kill them. Minerva Punjab, also same situation. And we just know what will happen to Churchill Brothers and Gokulam, whether I don't know, man. If I just hope that this does not happen, but what do you think? Do you think this is going to happen?
Sometimes it really plays out like a comedy rather than a tragedy, and that's what it's becoming. So we have long waiting to see a unified league, at least an expanded league. What we are dreaming of as an expanded league, more competition, more matches, more teams, more football. But this is going the other way around. It is going 50% reducing of the number of teams that wanting to play in the top tier. You're killing off the supply to get into the top tier by not having promotion relegation. You're just the way you worked up the ladder, and when you've taken your final step towards your dream top division, and all of a sudden there's is just like an empty pit there. We've seen I League get the worst of the treatment, and is this just just playing out badly. We know it's going to come to an end, but it just gets worse and worse every year.
And that's why I said, like, I don't mind if I League dies at this point, because it's obvious that FSDL does not care about it. AIFF obviously do not care about it. They all want ISL to take over as the new top division in the future. So if it's supposed to happen day after tomorrow, if it happens tomorrow instead of that, that's not the biggest issue. If we're gonna change the system, okay, get done with it. But don't kill the clubs in the process. Just look at the damage this will do to the clubs. Like, we're talking about how viable Indian football is, how viable investing in Indian football is. That's where so many even ISL teams are suffering. Kerala Blasters mounting losses over the last 5 years. I think after the fifth season, it's definitely over 140 and nearly 150. Just look at what Pune City is going through. They're about to shut down. They're going to sell the franchisee to somebody maybe in Telangana. Maybe a new team will come out of Hyderabad. But FC Pune City, it seems likely that will not be around anymore. Delhi Dynamos considering a move to some other place, which means there will be no Delhi Dynamos either. It will. They'll call it like Delhi Dynamos has moved to Odisha and become Bhubaneswar Dynamos or something. But that's still the death of Delhi Dynamos, right? So two ISL teams that look like they may die. Which club in India is actually making sound financial progress? It's not Minerva Punjab or Neroka, who are almost about to take the route that Shillong Lajong took and maybe get relegated and then shut down. But the one club that's steadily improving is Real Kashmir FC. They have a real revenue from ticket sales, 10,000, 12,000 ticket paying crowd every game, and the minimum ticket is $100. And guess what's happening to them? They got a good deal from Jammu and Kashmir Bank, and there's a state government grant. They are in the black. I think the only Indian club that's not running huge losses right now. And guess what? They just got floodlights at the TRC turf ground, which means they will not have to play at 2 p.m. next season. They'll get even better money from ticket sales. The reason Real Kashmir FC got this much money is because they're playing in the top league, and Jammu and Kashmir Bank want to show their logo on a major national network, to reach out to viewers all over the country. That's why they signed that deal. If Real Kashmir FC is relegated for no fault of their own, they'll be playing in the second tier. There will be no coverage of their matches on Star Sports, and maybe they'll get some matches on DD Kashir. But that's not as much, that's not worth as much as your game being beamed on Star Sports. So maybe the sponsorship money will be renegotiated, and they will start losing money. Maybe even the ticket prices will have to go down. Gate revenue will suffer, merchandise will suffer, everything will suffer. So they were building everything up, and it was perfect. They were growing. You just suddenly create a situation where just their growth is reversed. And how can this be progress for Indian football? I just don't see it.
No, there's no effort from the federation to live up to its name and having grow the product. In the end, what we see is condemning the I League. We've heard it termed as a failed product, and year on year, it just keeps getting better. The viewership, the attendance to the stadiums, instead of what was expected to go down, it just rises up. And the interesting part was the league itself. 3-4 years we've seen the league go down to the wire, down to the final match day, and that's how it's done. It just gets better and better. It's like wine. It's aging, it's going to die, but it's just tasting sweeter and sweeter.
And this seems like, both I League and ISL seems like this will be the most intense season ever. East Bengal are strengthening up. Mohan Bagan signing good players. They just got Chamorro, former Barcelona B player, brought in by a new Spanish coach, Kibu Vicuna. Eugene Salindo is back in Bengaluru FC, which is my favorite transfer story of the season so far. Real Kashmir FC, they've got way more money than before, so they will be strengthening the squad majorly and aiming for the title if an I-League happens properly. Gokulam Kerala FC is also improving. You have Chennai FC who are doing somewhat okay now. I mean, I expect them to do better next season. They just got held to a draw by Minerva Punjab and
They just snatched a draw. They just snatched a draw last minute of the game.
it was so awesome, right? I don't know, man. I mean, people will still say ISL is so much better than I-League, but the match results just don't show it on Super Cup and AFC Cup. It's half the time I-League teams win, half the time ISL teams win. The quality is more or less the same, but Bengaluru is strengthening. They will play in AFC Cup next year. FC Goa is strengthening. ATK's Roy Krishna. So interesting, player from Fiji, A-League top scorer. It looks like an AFC Cup signing. It seems like they're thinking ahead that they will win ISL and play in Asia, and that's where an Asian striker really pays dividends, because you can have extra foreigner that's non-Asian in the defense or in the midfield. When everything is stepping up, and regardless of FC Pune City, Delhi Dynamos, Neroka, Minerva Punjab, all of them suffering, there are others who are stepping up to make things more exciting, and that's when ye kebab mein haddi dal diya. You might as well wait just to see where things play out. Maybe Real Kashmir will improve to the extent where you can even consider taking them into ISL next season. Maybe the government will step up and help them further. Who knows? Who knows what might happen if they are let alone for one more year? Who might sign with whom and change their financial fate? But it just seems like they're just gonna snipe this down. I mean, I hope they don't. But final word from you, man, Kevin, on this.
Yeah, for us, we can keep on talking about the differences shown to two leagues of the same federation, but somehow one is known to everybody and the other should have been promoted as equally as the other, but it just fails to happen. But what we can hope is, not for the death of I League. We can hope football stays on, and these all things does not help. We've been hosting World Cups now. It's going to be a trend that India is going to host World Cups. Who knows? Another 3 years, we might host another underage or probably even a continental championship there. So it's everything is on the rise. Just for the smaller things, which really matter is have the organic growth of the clubs not being hampered in any way. The steps that Shillong Lajong have done, producing players like a factory. Chennai City all of a sudden turned in from a corporate entry to champions. Minerva Punjab riding on the power of their youth system and reaching out, they're just conquering the nation with their underage teams. So this is all something that's to be in the spotlight. Having them slowly move to shut shop and just leave like so many others have left, it doesn't give a good picture for the future of the country. Just hope things sort out. We can always dream of an expanded, a more competitive, a strong, open league. It just makes the national team stronger.
Yeah, couldn't have put it better, man. Let's just hope things work out in the future. And we are hearing that AIFF may hold a meeting in early July. And if they take a drastic step, we'll be back here covering everything and bringing you all the updates and all the perspectives on this matter. For now, let's move on to a very special perspective. We spoke to Abreshmina Sayeed Quadri, who is a senior sub editor at News 18 Sports, who's been covering Indian women's football in depth, both the Indian national women's team and the Indian Women's League. And I think she's one of the three reporters who went over to Ludhiana to cover the Indian Women's League from the ground itself. And she's got some fascinating insights on what's happening on the women's football front right now, and all the developments that are happening, the under 17 women's world cup that will happen next year in India, the Asian Cup bid that AIFF has submitted, which might happen in India in 2022, how the team is doing, and of course the juicy bit, the controversial stuff that's surrounding the Indian women's national team and how it might get resolved. So let's get into the conversation. So here we are with Abreshmina, who's joining us from New Delhi. Big news, Bala Devi has been called back into the national team camp. What do you think of the selection that's been made by Maymol Rocky, and do you think this is the start of the breaking of the ice?
You can say maybe. I mean, the performance that Bala genuinely gave in the Indian Women's League that took place a month back or so, a month and a half, was basically something that you couldn't ignore. I mean, like 25, 26 goals in like just 7 games was like something that was exceptional. And just seeing her perform, like we kind of like actually I was expecting her to get a call up because especially this IWL, it was like the coverage overall was pretty okay. Like it was quite there, and especially on the social media and everything, it did pick up that Bala Devi was doing this well, and her name did come up a lot. So I was kind of expecting her to get the call up because it was difficult to ignore. So that is one thing. But other than that, the selections were kind of normal. I mean, just the names that you would expect, honestly, yeah.
So just getting into the controversial bit right at the beginning here,
Yeah.
it's been, I mean, we know what's been happening. A bunch of players complained to AIFF against head coach Maymol Rocky and the national team head coach Maymol Rocky and
Yeah.
assistant coach Chaoba Devi. They said they were discriminatory or mostly favoritism. They accused the coaches of. A few of them were called up to the national camp. I think that was before Hero Gold Cup, and they did not show up. And
Yeah.
okay, it just escalated from
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
and they did not get called up to subsequent tournaments. So, just given that history, when you were there, you were out there covering the IWL.
Yeah.
Did it feel like there was some tension when these players were out there performing, and of course Maymol was also there, or did it look like things were simmering down?
Um, I cannot genuinely say that things are simmering down or something like that. I did speak to Maymol asking her that, and she said that she did not want to comment on the issue. But there wasn't. I wouldn't even say that there was a lot of awkward air or something like that. During the matches, obviously, I like hardly saw any kind of interaction. Um, Obviously, Bala got the Player of the Match award, and that was given to her by Maymol. But other than that, there was hardly any interaction between them. Usually, when the matches would go on, Maymol and Chaoba would be sitting right up in the stands watching the games. They watched all the games, so they would be sitting discussing things. But I didn't really see anything awkward, you would say. And like everyone was, you can say at least during that period, people, it was professional. I mean, they didn't show dissent or anything, if that existed anyway. So yeah, I mean, other than that, obviously we've spoken to, like we've all had, like we've all known what has been happening. It more looks like they had issues at the national camp. The few players, obviously, like Bala, the 7 players who boycotted were basically Bala, Kamla, Margaret, Kashmina, Umapati, Panthoy, and Rajniwala. So basically, they kind of like, and there were 2 more who were sent back to the camp by their parents.
Yeah,
So
apparently they got
these
very
guys,
angry that
yeah,
they did
yeah.
not want to go. So yeah.
I mean, it's kind of obvious when you think about it, right? Anyway, pursuing women's football in the country is very difficult. And say I'm a parent and I have said, okay, I'm allowing you to go and do that. Like, you can go and do that if that's what you're interested in. And suddenly one day you come back and you're like, I don't want to go back. I mean, as parents, it'll be like what is happening?
Yeah.
So I do kind of understand that as well. But it's like as much as I understood the situation, they had issues with the way, especially Chaoba worked, and it translated to Maymol. Like I was told that Maymol, these guys complained to Maymol about Chaoba, after which Maymol's attitude kind of changed as well. So it more looks like something that just needs to be sat across the table and sorted out. To be very honest, I mean, the issue does not look as big as it has become, which is something that I felt after interacting with various parties. Yeah.
Yeah, it just feels like that, and of course, I'm a little bit further away from the issue than you are. I wasn't there at the IWL, but I was
Hmm.
there when the South Women's Championship was happening, and yeah, it was
Yeah.
a touchy subject. Nobody wanted to talk about it, and basically all these Bangladeshi journalists, these Nepali journalists were coming in and saying like, your highest scorer of recent times is not playing. What's wrong and all that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a bit of a awkwardness that still hung around it, but
Yeah.
just uh, trying to get an overview of what happened. This seems like something similar to what happened in the men's team. Stephen Constantine had some issues with
Yeah.
some players, but it did not escalate to the point where the players refused to play or did not show up at the national team camp. Just your gut
Yeah.
feeling, what do you think would have happened if Bala Devi and these other players had actually shown up at the national camp? Would they have actually not been picked?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. I mean, I feel they did not turn up because they had complained to AIFF, and AIFF did not get back to them at all about it and stuff like that. I wouldn't say. I mean, I can't say about Kamala because I think she was benched
Hmm.
even before all of this stuff happened. But some of these guys definitely wouldn't have got in because that was kind of the issue.
Hmm.
Basically, how it started bubbling up. Basically, the entire
Yeah.
issue. But I'm pretty sure Bala would have got in anyway.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you were there at the staff thing and everyone was asking that your top scorer of the recent times is not there. So I mean, Bala not being there is something that you wouldn't think of.
Hmm.
But yeah, maybe like you can say a lot of these guys who've quit,
Yeah.
it's possible that they wouldn't have gotten because there like you see general pattern with Maymol. She's has a liking which is like normal. I wouldn't really say anything that there's anything wrong about it or something like that.
Hmm.
But she has a general liking towards a few players that she likes,
Hmm.
which is fine with a coach. I mean, a coach can have preferences like we always see. Um, so she picks them up. Like say I was recently surprised to not see Pantoy make it to the list.
Acha.
She's one of the guys who who are on boycott, and she did quite well in the IWL. She was the Manipur police goalkeeper,
Hmm.
and she's one of the few goalkeepers in our country who actually takes a goal kick. So, not having Pantoy in the probable list was also a bit of a surprise for me because she's, even if not the best, she's definitely one of the best keepers that we have. At least, like the 5 keepers who are in the list, and not having Pantoy there was
Yeah.
a surprise for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
For,
I don't know if she would make it to the top 2 or top 3, but yeah, top 5 definitely.
yeah,
But
definitely.
one thing that you mentioned, that yeah, Bala would have probably got in. Not sure about the others.
Hmm.
Something similar was said to me by somebody. As usual, these conversations happen off the record,
Yeah.
and they talk about on condition of anonymity. They said
Mm-hmm.
they said the plan was to make Bala Devi the captain. Actually, if she had showed up, she would be the captain, and the others not so sure about whether they would get
Yeah.
in. So if given that, given the
Hmm.
way like the things have turned up, and so what do you think? What's the impression of how this reflects on Maymol Rocky? Because I think she's been, of course, there's a vocal group of fans who are very pissed off about what's been happening, and part of the ire also is also falling on Maymol Rocky because she's
Yeah.
been portrayed as a villain here. So
Yeah.
yeah, is that your impression? Because I mean, honestly, I just cannot fathom a scenario where she can be like, I mean, that's just me, right? I just don't see anything that she has done that qualifies treating her as such, or portraying her as somebody that can be uh, putting her own preferences over what's good for the team at the moment.
Um, I I wouldn't actually say that. Like, I feel the reactions towards Maymol are kind of extreme. I do feel that. Um, the reports, basically, what everybody around the issue has said is like there is this general consensus that Chaoba is the one who is more into the preference bit.
Hmm.
Pretty much, and it's not just this current situation or something like that. It's because of Chaoba also has a club in Manipur, Krifsa. So that is where this issue kind of stems from.
Hmm.
Um, so it is like that, but I wouldn't really. Yeah, I would agree to you when you say that you can't really see Maymol as being someone very villainous or something like that. Like I just said, like a coach can have preferences for sure,
Yeah.
um, and it is okay if she sees certain players in her team and not the others, which is fine. Um, I think the issue is more about how, say, your preferences are put to, put towards the players. Like how maybe the players are not completely told properly what's the idea behind things and stuff like that. Maybe a little more communication over there would have helped. Is something that I kind of feel like a little more communication. Like, what is the problem? Like, I did the story recently after like speaking to people, and over there it was like people had issues that uh, the coach was very aggressive and stuff towards senior players in front of everybody. So people also had issues that you know there's a certain way of treating people. Maybe you could have been more understanding towards certain people and stuff like that. Sorry. So I like I said, it kind of looks like something that you can literally sit across the table and sort out. This is where I feel maybe AIFF could just do a bit better. I mean, why not just? I mean, we all know about what Desmond has been doing on Twitter. Like since I think that now they're like 160 years maybe since he's been writing every single day about redressal mechanism for the women's team,
Hmm.
which is something which I feel is the would be the kind of a perfect solution for this. uh, it's not necessary that everybody comes back into the team or that, Mima starts suddenly seeing them in the team, which is okay. Like I said, it's fine for coaches to, you know, because they have a certain vision about a team, and which is okay if they see certain players in it and don't see others. But if, say, your players have had an issue, it isn't it the responsibility of the federation to just come up and say, okay, we'll sit and we'll see what can happen. Like, what is the problem? Let's just sit and talk about it. So
Yeah.
I feel just communication that is the problem. Yeah, big problem.
Yeah, it seems like at this point, something that could have been handled much better by AIFF, but as
Yeah.
usual, we know the federation tends to just drag its feet until they're brought into it. Really something happens that makes
Yeah.
them wake up and take notice. But just
Absolutely.
just talking about the idea of saying either Chaoba or Maymol have preferential treatment for different players.
Hmm.
You can accuse of favoritism when the team performs worse than it was when the players who were left out were in there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But just look at the way the team has performed in recent times. I mean, we almost actually beat Myanmar in
Yeah.
their own soil, which had never happened before. I mean, when was the last time we went
True.
unbeaten in the second round of the Olympic qualifiers?
Yeah,
And
that is true.
and
Yeah.
nobody gave a chance to this team, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
who would have thought they would have turned out this kind of performance? So when we have a team which is objectively performing better than ever before, then
Hmm.
I think the idea of favoritism falls a little bit flat, right? I mean, if I know they are the senior players, they're coming in with lots of experience, and regardless of what kind of relationship they have with the coaches, if the juniors
Hmm.
who are stepping up are giving us better results, then
Hmm.
what do we do with it?
I do agree. I mean, a lot of these guys, yeah. I mean, even in the IWL, you had most of these national team players split up between Gokulam and Setu,
Hmm.
and you see some of these guys. Indu is so good.
Hmm.
Even in the final, she was so good, and Grace was excellent in the final. So yeah, obviously you have a lot of these girls. These girls are putting in a lot of effort on the field, and they're very good. But again, about the Myanmar thing, since you mentioned it, I did like feel a bit that, especially if Bala would have been there. I genuinely think we could have actually taken it this time.
Yeah,
We could have definitely made it.
Somebody got angry at me for saying earlier during the SAF Women's Championship that if Bala was there, we would have probably been 2-0 up in first 20 minutes. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's besides
In
the
the
point.
Olympic qualifiers against Myanmar, the kind of performance that these girls put up this time, I genuinely like. I seriously felt that if Bala would have been there, we could have won
Yeah, but at the same
this
time,
time.
while saying it and agreeing with you, I think that's a bit unfair towards those who were
Yeah,
out there
it
and
is
got us those three goals,
definite.
right? And
Yeah,
imagine
for sure.
if Aditi was not injured, Lintuin Gambi did a good job, but
Hmm.
I felt like if Aditi is there, we don't concede three goals, and that game is done right there. So imagine like if we're going into those hypotheticals, it's things
It
can
gets tangled.
things can stretch into the
Yeah.
sunset. So yeah, obviously it's but what do you think happens now? Bala Devi has been called back to the
Hmm.
national team, and do you think she's going?
I do have a feeling that she'll go.
Okay.
Because I did speak to somebody closer, like a close source to her, and I was told that she's genuinely on crossroads, yes, because she kind of feels bad that others have not got a call up, and she's the only one who's got it. But she also feels that since AIFF have not responded to them yet, uh, her going back to the camp might open a channel for the others to speak about it at least.
Hmm.
Like, might actually begin a conversation, which is something that I've been told she feels.
Yeah, that
So,
it
yeah,
actually
she
makes
might.
sense
It makes sense, yeah.
because so far whenever you go try to talk to the AIFF about the matter, they say what they have not been dropped. They never showed up at the national camp.
Yeah, yeah,
So if
absolutely.
after scoring 26 goals in the IWL, she goes over there and she's still not picked for the national team, maybe now we have a legitimate
Case.
different kind of
Yeah.
different kind of conversation that can happen from there. So
Yeah.
what do you think? I mean, things looking good. We're gonna play Qatif, then the Asian Cup qualifiers coming up.
Yeah.
What does it look like? Are you optimistic we might get there this time?
Oh, okay. like, I honestly not thinking too far ahead. It will seem like I'm talking like players, but really, like, it will be best if um, we as viewers also start taking one game at a time,
Yeah.
and just maybe look at how these girls put up every single minute that they're putting up on a field. Um, Definitely, we have a pretty good team. And I personally feel, I mean, I did speak to Maymol also about this, that she is definitely, AIFF is assisting her when she says that she wants camps and she wants the girls to spend more time with each other and all, which is exactly what showed in the results when they had like spent some good 4 5 months together till the Olympic qualifiers. So that kind of showed on the field because these girls knew each other. These girls knew where they'd be moving and stuff, which is obviously very important. And obviously, they do not have a lot of games other than what they play with the national team. State associations hardly have games. Yes, so that's a reality that we live in women's football here. So state associations hardly have games and everything. So this is, if they do not play with the national team, they'd hardly have games.
Yeah.
So yeah, for them to be together and play as many games as they can would be of utmost importance if we are to put up a result. Um, because that is exactly what came through in those 4 5 months. That they spent time together, they played a lot of games, like 18. I mean, I was speaking to anybody, like everybody around women's football, and were like 18 games, and never even heard of it. Like we'd play like 5 games in like two
Yeah.
3 years, and
Yeah.
then suddenly you have like 18 games, and it makes a lot of difference, and that showed. So yeah, definitely we have a good team. I would genuinely say we have a good team, and we have pretty good players. Um, it is about maybe just um, strategizing better,
Yeah.
playing as much as you can, and just drilling a system. That is what another thing that Mimol told me, that she's like literally focusing on having an identity and knowing how each player is going to play,
Hmm.
so that you can get a better result overall, which sounds like a perfect idea to me. Yeah.
Yeah. And also so many of the players are so young,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
absolutely.
it
Yeah.
looked it pretty much looked like an undergraduate class, when they walked out of the team bus for the I was there for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a you have to wonder that these young players being exposed to this kind of experience, and after a few months they took a few hard losses, then they went
Hmm.
on into the Olympic qualifiers and played like, frankly, I've never seen the team play like before. And just makes you wonder what's the limit if these girls get to stay together and play regularly for the next 3 years. Where
Hmm.
does this team end up? It's just
Absolutely,
gonna
I
go
do
up.
agree with you on that. I do agree with you on that totally. I mean, even like again, I'd mention C2 especially because they had quite a number of players. In the IWL also, when you saw them, like they played like a team,
Hmm.
like passing from here and there, defending as a team, which for me is something that kind of lacks overall, has been lacking overall. Knowing your positions,
Yeah.
knowing where to go when, say, your opponents are pressurizing you at the back. So those things are something that are genuinely getting better.
Hmm.
And with, say, more experienced heads on their shoulders, I definitely see them doing a lot better than what they did at the Olympic qualifiers as well, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously we are bidding for the Asian Cup 2022, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And we already have the Under 17 Women's World Cup. Do you think we're getting it? Because it seems like both, when they was doing the junior, sub-junior nationals, where they were
Mm-hmm.
recruiting for the team, and the same thing that's happening with this team. It seems like they are targeting a big tournament that will culminate this whole spell of preparations and this new generation of team that they're trying to build. You think
Obviously,
it?
there'd
Yeah.
be a target. Obviously, there'd be a target. I mean, I don't think you can work around teams without having a target.
Mhm.
So yeah, obviously, about the under 17 World Cup, it's like uh, we needed to have a team much before than we
Yes.
are going to have. Uh, I kind of like it it genuinely feels like a bummer to me that these little girls are going to be put against you know teams that have been playing together since they were like the girls who've been playing together since they were like 7 and 8 and all that,
Yeah.
and it's going to be really tough. And having it at home, I'm genuinely not sure how much of an audience is going to be there. I mean, we saw it all in the men's World Cup as well. I mean, it's difficult to get people out, but I don't know about the traction and all, but it's going to be really difficult for those girls. And yeah, I'd rather like the senior team getting through and playing better at the Asian Cup qualifiers is a far better idea for me than the under 17 girls doing it at the World Cup. That's going to be really tough, yeah.
I mean, ultimately, they are not. I mean, you can just see what they're treating the under 17 Women's World Cup as. It's a stepping stone to bid for the
Yeah.
under 20 Men's World Cup, or then under 23
Mm-hmm.
something, and maybe then get the Asian Cup for men in the country. So that's what they're treating. Obviously it's a administrative process,
Yeah.
which is going to work out for us in the long run. But
Hmm.
just you're there in Delhi, and I'm sure you're closer to the AIFF machinery than we here are. It's a it's a does it look like, we had that boom of grassroots during Mission 11 Million, or other similar programs like that? Is there some concrete program that AIFF is plotting to boost women's football at the moment?
I am genuinely trying to get through to the women's department for to actually know that.
Hmm.
I genuinely don't think I can comment on that before I have enough information. Because I'm trying to get through to the women's department to get more on that. So as soon as I do, I will let you know about it. But
Sure, sure, definitely. Or maybe just pull up a tweet and let everybody
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So
So as soon as I get to know that, I'll let you know. But like about Mission 11, I mean, again, I mean, Bhargav Sarma did do a story on that.
yeah, I
So
mean,
yeah.
you gotta give them credit for what they're trying. It's like they were just given a few months to just show a 11 million number. It doesn't work
I
like
get
that.
that, but shouldn't they have continued it? Is my question.
Yeah, I mean, what
Continue it
was
better,
my
no?
yeah what was my big question was that what happens to the data? Who's following up on the data of all these
Absolutely.
kids who were
The
part of it? So.
Absolutely. The problem I kind of feel is genuinely that also that nobody keeps data of anything. Of
Hmm.
anything. I mean, even in women's football, we've been talking to people like during the IWL. I did speak to a lot of these coaches and everybody, and nobody seemed to have any data of how many girls are playing, or uh, what is the number of people who are being who are playing the grassroots or who are being recruited to the senior teams and all. It's important to have that kind of data. You've got to know all these little things so that you can act upon it and do better as administrators. But I really don't know. I mean, the data is a huge problem. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Talking about IWL, I mean, people must have enjoyed the way it was organized, right? You're gonna play in the fair weather of 2 p.m. In the middle of the summer, when you have the floodlights are there, but we'll never turn them on. Save the planet,
Yeah.
conserve electricity, all that. So yeah, how did the players take it? I mean, did you talk to some players about that?
See, honestly, I genuinely think that these guys anyway don't get to play much, so they don't really mind playing at any weather. But um, even when I was sitting in the stands in that afternoon, on those
Yeah.
afternoons, it was difficult. So you can imagine how difficult it is for the players,
Mm.
which is why they had water breaks. Thankfully, at least they had water breaks, and um, it it just it's just astonishing that you know these games are like all these games, like be it the whole I League seasons
Mm.
or these games. It's like I cannot understand why it's so difficult to just either hold these matches during better temperatures or during evenings. Just a
Yeah.
little late, maybe just five. If not like four, not three, four, just five. Turn it to five. It'll get over by seven.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was really difficult. I can say it surely because we were sitting over there, and uh, under the fan as well. It was so difficult. Like
Mm.
it was hot. It was really hot, and if the players playing in that kind of temperature is weird. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, even during King's Cup, no, you
Yeah.
had like day matches. I was like, I mean, like I did read somebody writing on Twitter that perhaps people, these guys also thought that since we have our matches during the day all the time, we prefer playing in this heat,
No, the
even
Kings,
though we don't.
the Kings Cup was a different kind of a situation. They thought they
Yeah,
would beat Vietnam, and so they kept their own matches in the evening and put the others earlier in the
yeah.
day because they did not want to hold them in different days. So yeah,
Hmm.
it was a yeah, and the stadium was made out of iron. So obviously we were sweating throughout. And
Oh my God. Yeah.
get this
Okay.
on the
Yeah.
day of the second day when we played
Yeah.
we played Thailand. They
Hmm.
told us the King's representative will be coming and sitting in the same section as us, so all of us have to wear suits.
Oh my
Otherwise,
God.
otherwise we would not be allowed to sit in the press box.
Oh God.
So I
Okay.
had to one day before I had to just run to a shop and buy myself a suit, and
Obviously, you would expect it. Yeah.
yeah, has to happen. And I'm pretty sure that one day that shop did all their years worth of business of these weird foreign journalists coming up and picking up suits. And
For
what
sure.
it how it turned out was you can't wear a suit and sit in that weather. It's obvious.
Obviously, I can imagine, dude. I can
Yeah,
really imagine.
yeah. It
Yeah, it's
was yeah,
so
rather
yeah.
yeah.
Even in Ludhiana, yeah, it was the same case. It was tough. It was tough sitting there, jeans and a t-shirt, man. It was
Mm,
hot.
yeah.
I felt bad for the players, yes, but they genuinely didn't seem bothered about it, except for the fact that they were happy they had water breaks and they were having water in that time.
Yeah.
They didn't really fret about it, actually.
Yeah, that's part of the the attitude that women footballers have in this country because they've been playing in
Yeah,
shitty conditions all their lives.
yeah,
It's like
absolutely.
what's new? So I think they that's what sort of pumps them up when they get good conditions when playing in big tournaments. Uh,
Absolutely, I
so
agree.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so I don't know, in a weird way maybe it works out for us to just keep testing their resilience and give them better stamina by making them play under the sun. So yeah,
Oh my
I
God,
think
yeah.
I think we've given AIFF enough excuses to keep doing this. So
Totally.
yeah, happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, so to wrap up, what was your overall impression of how IWL is affecting the players and the clubs that we have seen come up? So is it overall
Go on.
positive?
You can say so. I mean, definitely a few positives
Yeah.
out there. Especially the fact that uh, even if it's just that short a tournament,
Mm.
these girls are at least getting a few games up their sleeves. It's definitely got to be longer for sure,
Yeah.
but that hopefully will happen in some time. Um, Other than that, at least they're getting games. Yes, the few. uh, going by the amount of conversation I had with the Gokulam coach, Priya,
Yeah.
um, they do seem pretty serious about having a proper ecosystem back in Kerala to facilitate their participation in IWL every year.
Mm.
Obviously, they had like a mix of players this time around, but like by how much I understood by having a conversation with Priya, I mean they are interested in recruiting better, even
Yeah.
local players,
Yeah.
which would definitely be great. I mean, the only thing that I feel all teams participating, I mean, they've got to start having their regular clubs for
Mm.
sure. I mean, you can't just have a team for a tournament. People have got to start having real teams
Yeah.
and get local players because if you don't get local players, it's not development.
Mm.
You can't just pick up. I get it's good that you know since you recruit players from other states as well. It's good that they get opportunities as well, even if you know their teams are not they have not made it to the final round and all that. I get that. That's very good. But then um, local players need to be a part of the system, which is very important for development of the game in every state. So yeah, I mean definitely positives there for sure. But maybe the system needs to be better. I mean, the quality of football this time around was slightly was kind of lower than the last edition.
Mm.
Um, with especially, I mean, I don't like it's not there's nothing bad about it, but then you have this team Panjim footballers from Goa, and they had kids in their team, like they were literally like kids.
Yeah.
And obviously, which is why they had a very tough time playing against all the other teams because they had like professional players. And Hans, same with Hans, like who go from Delhi, Hans women, and they also they are not they play with amateur players,
Yeah.
not professionals. That's what the owner also told me
Mm.
that they have amateurs mostly. So yeah, I feel that if they are to field teams, um, have a regular training base at least, even if it's not year round, which is at the moment difficult in women's football, is from what I see around like everywhere. But at least have regular
Yeah.
a base is important. Yeah.
Which would be, what would help in the situation if all the I League and ISL teams are, it's made mandatory for them to have women's teams because
Yeah.
they have training grounds, they have under 16, under 19 practicing all there, and still half the day that ground is empty. It's
Yeah.
not like
Yeah.
they need to make extra infrastructure to accommodate another team, and if they're spending 40 crores on a first team in ISL, they can
Hmm.
spend 30 to 50 lakhs on maintaining a women's team. It's
Yeah.
not that hard for
Absolutely.
them.
It's not that
So
hard. Yeah.
yeah, I mean we have seen Delhi Dynamos have a women's team, FC Pune City have a women's team. I think Bengaluru
Yeah.
FC are thinking about it. Gokulam Kerala FC is there. Who else? I just don't see anyone taking that active interest in actually being in women's football.
Yeah. People. I don't see that kind of interest either. A lot of reasons. People think it doesn't get revenue. Uh,
I mean, men's football
people
doesn't get you revenue either. Everybody's
either.
running
I
on
know,
losses.
right? Yeah. So the one is that what I got gauged from the conversations I've had, and then people also half of the people have excuses about women's safety. Having a team.
Yeah, but
How do you keep it absolutely safe for them? But you've got to have it, right? I
I mean,
mean,
it's not like you need a police escort around the practice ground all the time. It's I don't
absolutely, yeah.
how does it make it any less safe when a women's team is using a ground for practice? I did not get the logic behind that at all.
Yeah, I don't too. But yeah, until unless more people start showing interest
Mm.
in the in women's game, I find it difficult for actual development to start happening.
Hmm.
because that requires a lot of effort on the grassroots,
Yeah.
which obviously is a problem overall in Indian football only, not just women's game. But yeah, it's worse in women's game.
Yeah, it's has to be way worse. You know, one thing that sort of these small budget I League clubs take comfort in is the travel subsidy they get, which is like
Yeah.
about 40 lakhs per year for
Hmm.
going around, and that's how Shillong Lajong, who did not want to invest, they made things work with that. Niroka benefited from that. Real Kashmir as well. Half of
Hmm.
that, if it's given to the clubs, they will see it as a proper incentive, and if
Yeah,
the
of
yeah,
course.
at least the final round, if it's done home away,
Hmm. Hmm,
that
hmm, hmm.
creates, it expands the season, gives them more rest between games, and
Yeah.
finally we actually
And
have a league going, other than like a
yeah,
18-day
absolutely. Just
tournament.
absolutely like the IWL. I mean, the teams were playing every alternate day, like
Yeah,
literally, and that's not a proper rest.
yeah.
That's not proper rest, and that too after they've been playing in like absolute heat.
Mm.
So yeah, that is obviously something that the season needs, like it needs to start looking like a proper league than a
Yeah.
tournament, basically. Yeah,
Do you
they
think
call it a women's
do you
league.
think that that's where it's going? I mean, we've seen a little bit of extra number of teams participating, and of course there's a
I
slow
I think they're
expansion.
trying to yeah, I think they're trying to do that.
Yeah.
Um, but uh, I am not sure at the moment how much they're ready to expand. To be very honest,
Mm.
um, I don't see them changing the format at least for another year or two. Um, if they do, that'll be amazing. But I'm not sure at the moment how much they'd be ready to give, going by the budget management and everything. Yeah,
Mm.
which is why I think one of the reasons why Ludhiana was selected as a venue as well. I mean, there was absolutely nobody to watch the game in that stadium. I did a story on that too.
Yeah.
There was absolutely nobody to watch the game, which was very sad because some of the games were really nice.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I mean, obviously, according to budget management as well, obviously, Ludhiana was chosen.
Yeah,
Um,
and the
but,
venue choosing process seems to be flawed in many ways. I mean, I don't know if you
yeah,
heard the story. Apparently, they picked Shillong for the previous edition because
yeah.
they thought people would turn up because it's a matrilineal society. And they did not stop to consider for a moment that there was no team from Meghalaya playing. So who's going to show up if there's no local team and there's no
Local
local
team,
stakes? Yeah,
absolutely.
so it's
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even in this edition, it was like the Gokulam had Manisha playing, who was a local player.
yeah.
So they were like that people might turn up for her. I mean,
I
that
mean,
doesn't happen.
they
You've
didn't
got to
turn up
have
for
a
Minerva Punjab. I mean,
yeah,
Ludhiana doesn't
and
have a
you've got
track record of showing up.
yeah.
It's
That is what the Punjab Association General Secretary, I think we spoke to.
yeah.
Even he said the same thing. Like Ludhiana does not really have a football culture. There are pins close by
Hmm.
that have a pretty good footballing culture, but not Ludhiana. But since the stadium is here, a good stadium which could hold the games were held there.
Yeah.
So it's why it's like it's kind of difficult, yeah, to explain anything.
Maybe they should just look at venues that have turned up for matches in the past. Like Malappuram
Yeah.
had Federation Cup matches. All of
Hmm.
them were held during the day. All of them were sold out. There's a
Yeah.
good chance of getting IWL matches good attendance if they pick a venue like that.
Honestly, I think AIFF seriously needs to start looking at second tier and third tier places.
Yeah.
Because they usually come up with at least like a decent crowd at least.
Mm.
So yeah, I think so. But then that will require maintenance of stadiums there as well. So it's a vicious circle as we
Yeah.
see it.
Always. I mean, it's been very enlightening to talk to you about all the issues that
Thank you,
surround
Fab.
women's football, and hopefully, all things get better from here. IWL gets a
Yeah,
little bit
hopefully.
more crowd and more clubs and Bala Devi and Maymol Rocky grab a dinner together and make up. So
Yeah,
yeah, let's just see. Let's just hope we get something good out of Asian Cup qualifiers and quarters. Once
absolutely.
again, thanks a lot for this.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So there it was. We ended the conversation on a bit of a hopeful note. God knows we need some of that. So let's move on to the segment that we promised in our last episode, the Fan Speak segment. And in the previous episode, Sagar Sajeev commented on YouTube that Thapa has matured so much over a year. Do you think he is capable to play in European League, at least second divisions? Now, to answer that, I'm going to refer to the former Indian national team coach, Stephen Constantine. He was asked, and I'm just picking from memory here, in a press conference about what are the chances of Indian players going out and playing abroad. And he brought out the example of Eugene Sunlingdo, and he said, if he goes to Europe right now and plays in a league similar to what Gurpreet Singh Sandhu was playing in, the Elite Syrian, he'll make it to the top flight squads and he will be an okay player over there. But what is the incentive of European clubs to take in Indian players when they have players that are equally talented and much younger coming out of their own youth systems? Look at the foreign players we have here in India. When the clubs are signing foreign players, they're looking for something that the domestic players can't give them. And it's the same for the European clubs. They are looking in a foreign player something they cannot get out of their own academy graduates. So applying the same logic to Anirudh Thapa, time will tell whether he turns out better than Eugene Sunlingdo. I hope he does, seriously. But does it make sense for him as a regular for Chennai FC, which is playing in the continental level, and a regular player for national team, to go over to a European club and warm the bench for 2 years before he gets an adequate amount of game time? What if it just throws him off his game? The opposite thing happened with Gurpreet Singh Sandhu. He went and spent some time on the bench and tried hard to break into the first team, and it made him a better keeper. But the same may not be true for a creative midfielder. Remember what Luis Norton de Matos said about the India under 17 players that played in the World Cup, that if they go over to some big club and spend most of the season on the bench, that may be the end of their careers. So they should stay in Indian Arrows and play I-League regularly and grow that way. So it's a matter of perspective, I think. If Anirudh Thapa has that kind of attitude that I will grind out for years and elevate myself as a player and succeed on a much bigger stage, that's a possibility. Or he stays in India, he plays his best game. He's not that old right now. By the time he is 22, 23, he may become a much better player than he is today, and might become a perfect fit for some Japanese club. I don't think Europe is a worthy gamble at this point. If he wanted to go to Europe, he should have gone about a couple of years earlier, because that's the time when you want to grind on the bench, not when you're established already. And also because although I believe he is going to be a regular squad player in the English Championship, for example, but he just cannot play in Championship as of now, because I think England has a rule that prohibits signing players from countries that are outside the top 70 or 75 or 55, one of the numbers. La Liga has a similar number. If the country's rank is lower than 70, 75, they don't sign players from there. And that is one of the major barriers that has plagued Indian footballers forever now. If Anirudh Thapa stays around and plays hard for India and gets the national team into the top 70 and then goes and signs for Bundesliga 2 or Championship, yeah, God bless. I think he will actually succeed there, depending on how many years he's got left in his career. So that's that. Thanks for listening to us. Go follow me, Chiranjit Ojha, on Twitter. Also, Kevin is on Twitter as Boza_Kevin. You can find Abreshmina on Twitter at @Abreshmina. And of course, to get all the news, views and updates on Indian football, go follow at @TFG Football on Twitter. And go to thefangarage.com to catch all the news updates of Indian football in real time. Thanks for being with us. Come back next week. We'll have a special guest joining us again, hopefully. Bye.